I call to order this Grand Haven City Council meeting. And Linda, would you call the roll, please?
Scott?
Here.
Fritz?
Here.
Manetza?
Here.
Bruger? Here. McCallum?
Here. Our invocation this evening will be given by the Reverend Dr. Jared C. Kramer, St. John's Episcopal Church. Please remain standing after the prayer for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. O Lord, our governor, bless the leaders of our land, that we may be a people at peace among ourselves and a blessing to other nations of the earth. To the president and members of cabinet, to governors of states, mayors of cities, and to all in administrative authority, grant wisdom and grace in the exercise of their duties. To senators and representatives, and to those who make laws in states, cities, and towns, give courage, wisdom, and foresight to provide for the needs of all our people and to fulfill our obligations in the community. To the judges and officers of our courts, give understanding and integrity, that human rights may be safeguarded and justice served. And teach our people to rely on your strength and to accept their responsibilities to their fellow citizens, that they may elect trustworthy leaders and make wise decisions for the well-being of our society, that we may serve you faithfully in our generation and honor your holy name. And Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, we ask this evening that you will send down upon those who hold office in this city of Grand Haven the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have, thanks, Jared. We have one appointment this evening, or to vote on. So Linda, do you want to read that?
This is to appoint Emma Sachtelbein to the Musical Fountain Committee with a term ending June 30th, 2021.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Emma can't be here this evening because she had to work, but, so she will come and get, if we vote in the affirmative, she will come and let Linda swear her in before the next Musical Fountain Committee meeting.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes.
Bruger?
Yes.
McCallum?
Yes. Right. Well, that takes us to the approval of the regular and consent agendas. Are there any changes?
No, Your Honor, I have none.
None? Anyone up here? Oh, all right, then I need a motion to accept the agendas as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, if there's no discussion, then we will vote.
Manetza?
Yes.
Bruger?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
McCallum?
Yes. All right, that brings us to general business call of the audience. We've got a full house. So whoever would like to come and
Our opportunity
start
then.
things off, just tell us who you are and where you're from.
I'm Randy Smith, and I'm the chair of the Preservation and Place Committee.
And I'm Marcia Peterson, and I'm the chair of the Historic District Commission and also president of the Tri-Cities Historical Museum. And we're here tonight because we are rather reacting to the motion C about the depot. So I thought I'd just give you some highlights. We certainly don't have to go into the history of it because we've done that several times. But we're all really positive. In fact, both groups, all groups really reacted positively to the depot and about the public use, because that's something we all desired very much. And what we're also passionate about historic preservation. We have gotten many communications, and I think the council has received many of them as well as from numerous people in the last few days, because people are really concerned about the idea of cutting 2 sets of double doors into a 150-year-old building that is listed on the National Registry of Historic Places. and we agree with them. We think that we should consider alternatives to cutting out parts of the building, maybe even a sidewalk cafe or movable bollards that would be in the character of the building. We would like the input of a preservation professional, and we also believe we should follow the Secretary of the Interior's standards for the treatment of historic properties. The Waterfront Stadium is a beautiful addition to the city, and we appreciate all the time and effort, and actually the interest in people who want to put money into this project to make it so great. But we also believe that the depot, when finished, will be a perfect complement to the stadium, and yet we want that historic preservation to be the main focus. So when you look at that motion is too broad-brushed for us. It just alludes to history, and so we would like it to be much tighter than that and to really emphasize the historic preservation as the key in the National Registry. We also want to thank everyone because it's so great to be in Grand Haven, because we all do these things because we love it. And so anyone who's trying to make this depot in the waterfront as exciting as we think it can be, and we're still maintaining the history, we thank them. So thank you.
We look forward to later this evening, and maybe some of our things that we're interested in could be clarified, and maybe it'll come out tonight. And we look forward to that. And we appreciate the efforts. And anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else would like to address council?
Permission to approach?
Sure. Okay.
Mark Verberkmos, 1020 Marion. Several weeks ago, the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy, better known as EGLE, along with Dake Corporation through their attorney, requested the City Council to amend Chapter 13.5, the groundwater use ordinance of the city's Code of Ordinances, which Council did by adding 2 additional restricted zones. EGLE submitted data to the city that showed levels of vinyl chloride above the safe drinking water standard in wells deeper than 26.5 feet. A copy of this data is again provided in the packet that I just provided. No testing data above the 26.5 foot mark was submitted in the 2018 or 19 test data, although it was performed in 2015 with extremely low numbers. Council asked both EGL and Dake if continued use of shallow wells would cause the vinyl chloride within the plume to mix. It was clear that the affirmative answer from EGLE and Dake caused Council's decision to be based on opinion rather than any technical data, as neither provided any scientific data in either of the public hearings to substantiate their assertions. It was my belief from the onset that the vinyl chloride levels above the 26.5 foot mark were at or below the safe drinking water standards, and that mixing was not occurring as claimed by EGL and Dake. A typical shallow well pump generally cannot draw water deeper than 20 feet, and the shallow and intermediate well results from 15 provided by EGL could be interpreted to mean that the wells above 20 feet would test below the safe drinking water standard for vinyl chloride. Following the meeting where the ordinance amendment was approved, I mailed plus or minus 60 homes within the Ottawa Steel plume that were believed to have a well. Of those homes contacted, 5 property owners were interested in having additional testing to determine if the EGL and Dake assertion was indeed true. In addition, 1 additional homeowner had her well tested independently of the 5 that I completed. Of the 6 wells tested, all tested below the safe drinking water standard, and 5 of the 6 results showed what are termed non-detect, or in other words, a level below what the lab could test for. A map showing a representative sampling of these locations throughout the plume is included for your information. I also mentioned that several of the homeowners with the wells, property owners, are in the audience tonight. I have provided to you even more scientific data that proves that mixing does not occur. As noted in previous meetings, well use creates a cone of depression around the well screen. The movement of water to recharge this cone is laminar and to a high degree parallel. Help you understand the word laminar, the editors of the Encyclopedia Britannica describe laminar flow as a type of fluid flow in which the fluid travels smoothly or in regular paths in contrast to turbulent flow in which the fluid undergoes irregular fluctuations and mixing. In laminar flow, sometimes called streamline flow, the velocity, pressure, and other flow properties at each point in the fluid remain constant. Laminar flow over a horizontal surface may be thought of as consisting of thin layers or laminae, all parallel to each other. The fluid, in contrast with a horizontal surface, is stationary, but all the other layers slide over each other. This is compared in a rough analogy to a deck of cards, what you might know as a deck of cards, where a deck of cards would flow laminarily. The information is further substantiated by U.S. Geographical Surveyor in their article titled Stream Flow Depletion by Wells, Understanding the Managing and Affects the Groundwater Pumping on Streams, by What is Groundwater, published by the Cooperative Extension Service of Michigan State University, and finally by J.H. Lear in an article titled An Empirical Model Study of Cones of Depression Produced by Pumping Wells. All of it is substantiated in those three articles as examples. Residents sprinkle with wells in our community make their homes and yards look neat and well kept, and to help our community be more appealing. Further, they can reduce their costs by using wells rather than municipal water. Council's decision to restrict groundwater use in the Ottawa Steel and Dake plumes has created an undue hardship on many of our residents, many of whom are on fixed incomes. Moreover, the cost to connect their sprinkling system to municipal water in many cases is extremely expensive due to the location of their current wells. And finally, the recent increase in water rates further exacerbates the difficulties these residents will face when trying to afford municipal water for their lawns. On behalf of the residents within these newly restricted areas, I respectfully request that City Council reevaluate their decision and reconsider providing relief to residents who can test and prove that their well water tests above the safe drinking water standard. Based on the data provided, there seems to be no valid reason now that sprinkling is to be restricted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else would like to address council?
Hello. Nancy O'Neill, 216 South 2nd Street, Grand Haven. The last time I spoke to you, I wanted to talk about a traffic problem, lack of adequate signs, and I would like to compliment the City Council and the City Manager for expeditiously taking care of that problem. 2 City Council members came over and looked at the situation, and the signs were up in no time. I have never seen such quick response to a problem, and I wanted to thank you for that. I'm here today, though, to talk about an environmental proposal. The City of Grand Haven has many admirable goals for 2019, and I would like to propose a goal for 2020. I don't know if you're finished with setting your goals, but I would like to make a suggestion, if not for 2020, then for a later year. And my proposal is to create an environmental sustainability mission statement and plan, perhaps a 5-year plan, as other municipalities have done, that would inform all the stakeholders in the community about our shared environmental resources, how we are caring for them, and how we can care for them better. And here are a few suggestions. I think we should survey the natural resources in our area and identify ecosystem services that they provide. And some agencies have already done that. We should evaluate the waste and recycling options available to businesses, residents, and visitors, and investigate improvements over time. We should also incentivize waste reduction. And I would like to commend the City Council for making just such a trip today to Republic Waste Services. And I would like to continue, you should continue the excellent progress of the BLP towards using renewable energy and continue to provide information and incentives for customers to reduce energy consumption. We will need less energy, obviously, if people use or demand less energy. I suggest that you continue the excellent work of the Water District to incentivize water conservation and protect our water supplies. I like this brochure that the city provides. The more information residents have, the better they will be able to comply and to reduce their consumption. I suggest that you evaluate and improve city use of water, pesticides, and fertilizers in an environmentally responsible manner, and identify areas where nature-based solutions are working well, such as on the vegetated roofs and rain gardens in the city, and recommend additional areas for sustainable transition. And I also think that I recommend that you recognize and promote more zero waste events, starting with the Salmon Festival, which just completed and had the least amount of trash of any of the events they've ever held. Some of this work has already been accomplished, but the big picture of our sustainability system does not have a central location or adequate exposure. I know there's a website, but we could do more with that. I think an additional benefit of such a goal would be that local and K through 12 classes might be able to participate in this project or use it as a lesson. And environmental studies students at Grand Valley would probably could help, as some of their work is project-based. I'd like to close with a statement that motivates me. When I think about waste, and remember, waste is resources in the wrong places. I'm reminded of a concept I learned a long time ago in development economics. It's generational equity, which means we should not waste resources now, because by doing so, we are stealing from future generations. And it's what the young people now call generational theft. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address council at this time?
My name is Erin Terrell. I am the chairman of the Save the Catwalk Committee, and I am very happy to be here tonight as just to make public comment about what happened last Monday. It has everything to do with what everybody has talked about already, with what we're doing for the historical preservation of our community, and the train and the depot and the water, and what we have done too for preserving the catwalk and the pier that we have. I would just personally like to thank the entire City Council for what has happened over the last 4 years. Also thank, for last Monday, the Department of Public Works, the Department of Public Safety, and everybody who came to make sure that everybody was safe at that event, and it went off without a hitch. Somebody was looking out for all of us that day. So the sky opened up with a beautiful sunset, and we had everything that we could to make sure that it was wonderful for all of us, all of the environment and everything else. So in an impromptu way, I want to say thank you to that. And I have a small gift that I would like to present to the mayor, my dear friend. If you would accept this from me, and I can give this to you from the entire committee. Can I bring this up?
Please do. Awesome.
I know there are heavy topics that are covered tonight, but that is a small replica of a bent of one of the catwalk bents that can be placed somewhere and not stolen, and I'm hoping nobody gets impaled by that. Right? But thank you so much for everything that happened last week and all we did to make sure that she went back up. We all did this, all of you together, talking about other subjects tonight. And I want to make sure that we understand that we're a committee, and we are a community that talks about larger things than just ourselves. So please, don't forget about that.
I'd like to say something before the mayor does her thing, but I want to thank you so very much for taking chair of that whole committee. I was in and out of that committee quite a few times. I got busy myself and I couldn't make it all the meetings, but I tell you what, it definitely was a community involvement. Looking at it on Monday, it was by far bigger than the community. It was not only just Grand Haven and local, but I know my sister and them were online because it was being streamed, and they had chat parties, and people were going from Florida, they were on there from South Carolina, they were from California. They're all in this little chat together on it, saying what a beautiful sight. So I want to say thank you to you for your determination and working hard on this. Erin, thank you so very much.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to our entire community, because how often do you get to have an opportunity to say, wow, impromptu thank you. So, holy mackerel, we did all, what is this? Impromptu thank you. What?
You have the right words.
Thank you.
I think it has a little company. Anyway, I have to say a few words here for about Erin before she goes away. This has been, meeting Erin in this and having her chair this committee has been a whole lot of fun, because you can't be around Erin without having,
I have my anti-establishment shoes on.
She is different. She is definitely cut from a different cloth. Erin does her own thing, but she took on this challenge to raise $1 million and brought together a whole bunch of people, made a whole bunch of phone calls. We had a lot of laughs, quite a few tears, but over the time got it accomplished, and Erin was the biggest part of that, to keep going, keep calling people, keep bringing people together, and finding the right experts and the right expertise, and just staying up there, and it is back. So we just want to say thank you.
Not expecting that. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say thank you to you all, but I get a pumpkin.
All right. And I want
And
you
a
to
hug from the mayor.
I
I'll
want
take
you
that.
to meet the duo that has the ability to crack up anchors on our local news station. So just gotta keep laughing.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so much fun. Where are we? We are to, we don't have to continue the
Your
work
Honor?
session because we didn't have one.
Anybody else?
General business, we're not done with general business, call the audience. There is still
Right.
many people out there if you want to. Yes, Pat?
I've got some general business.
Okay.
I'm not part of the audience. I'll sit out there if it helps. But I wanted to show the whiteboard
yeah.
video tonight,
Right.
and I didn't have a spot on the agenda, and as long as we still have a crowd, I thought we'd take advantage of that to show a video about the November 5th millage proposal that is on our ballot in Grand Haven. So I'll just shut up and let Ashley play this.
All right. The guest of honor isn't here.
Grand Haven's infrastructure includes streets, sidewalks, water lines, sewer pipes, and storm drains. A 2019 study by city engineers revealed the infrastructure's value at $560 million. By way of comparison, the taxable value of private property in the city is $1.16 billion. The city has identified approximately $45 million in medium and high priority projects to maintain our existing public infrastructure system. To keep up, we would like to invest $4 million per year into our streets, sidewalks, and underground utility systems. We've been successful in securing state and federal grants. In 2018, the city received $1.2 million for Harbor Drive. In 2010, we received $700,000 for the Centertown Washington Avenue project. In 2007 and 2015, city voters approved bond issues, or debt financing, that resulted in 1 mill levies to be paid over 20-year periods. The November 5th, 2019 proposed millage election is not based on debt, but is a pay-as-you-go structure. As we collect your money, we invest it directly into infrastructure. The difference between a 20-year debt and 20 years of saving and investing in infrastructure is 50%. Avoiding interest can stretch our dollars by at least half, which City Council feels is a wiser way to create a permanent, stable resource for Grand Haven's future. The November 5th ballot proposal asks voters to approve a perpetual millage of up to 3 mills to be phased in over the next 15 years. The first mill would be authorized upon expiration of the community center and brownfield levies in 2021. The second would be authorized upon expiration of the 2008 infrastructure bond in 2027. And the third mill would be authorized upon expiration of the 2015 infrastructure bond in 2035. If levied, the new millage would be 3 mills, while 3.419 mills is expiring. The proposal poses no greater tax burden than what the citizens of Grand Haven currently experience. Each mill delivers approximately $600,000 in annual revenue invested only into infrastructure. In today's dollars, the 3 mills will deliver $1.8 million per year by 2035. Coupled with grant funding in addition to about $500,000 per year collected via utility bills, future Grand Haven taxpayers and utility customers could be able to keep up with the demands of financing a modern, safe, and reliable infrastructure system. Please remember to vote on November 5th, 2019.
So there you go, and the idea there is that today the attention span and the ability to get somebody's attention is more abbreviated, so we thought we'd come up with something quick to the point that can be widely distributed via social media and other means, and hopefully get the word out. And you'll notice it never tried to persuade one way or the other. It was simply a factual presentation of what you've placed on the ballot about a little under a month from now, less than 30 days. So thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Well, thanks for showing that because I find that highly entertaining. So, but anyway, back to call the audience. So if anybody else would like to address council that hasn't had the opportunity, please do so at this time. And just tell us who you are, where you live, and what you'd like to talk about.
You don't want to follow up the video?
And if we don't have any takers, we will proceed.
Too late to be in it.
With our consent agenda. Yes.
This is to approve the closed session minutes of September 3rd, special work session and regular council meetings of September 3rd and September 16th, 2019. Approve the bills memo in the amount of $14,233,732.10. Approve the 2020 council meeting schedule. Approve a correction to Chapter 9, Article 6 of the Grand Haven Code of Ordinances to adopt the 2015 edition of the Michigan Plumbing Code that was previously approved in March 2019, incorrectly referencing the building inspector rather than the plumbing inspector as the enforcing agent. Approve the 2019 NEP grant for neighborhood housing services in the awarded amount of $50,000 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. Approve an organization non-endowed fund letter agreement with the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation to establish the Mulligan's Hollow Ski Bowl Capital Improvements Fund for the purpose of making capital improvements to the ski bowl and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. Accept the quotation from Rogers Printing in the amount of $6,459.68 for the printing and mailing services of the 2020 city calendar, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign a 3-year working agreement for printing and mailing services of the 2020, 2021, and 2022 city calendars, and approve the state of Michigan's My Deal road salt contract for the 2019-2020 winter season with Compass Minerals for 850 tons of salt at $72.23 per ton, delivered for a total amount of $61,395.50.
All right. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Anybody have comments or questions on any of these items on the consent agenda?
$14 million, as I say, is the
That
last.
was a large number.
Yeah, we're not necessarily spending all that money. Biggest share of that is actually just taxes that we collect in, and it just passes on through again, as we said the last time when we had $9 million, so. But since
We're doing better.
we're doing better. We increased a few $1 million now, so, but just wanted to let you know on that. And also, Pat, can you tell us, let the people at home know on this salt deal, what the cost was last year compared to this year?
I don't know that exactly, but I think it was probably in the $60 per ton range, and we're looking at $72 per ton.
That's right. That's what I said.
Because it comes from Kansas? Not in Kansas anymore, too.
It is an increase compared to what we've had in the last few years.
Anybody else? If not, we will vote.
Bruger,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza,
Yes.
McCallum.
Yes. At this point, I want to open a public hearing concerning a request from SPI Pharma for a new industrial facilities tax exemption certificate for a 12-year period for real property, the estimated amount of $3,500,000. So is there anyone who is here, wants to address this item?
I am so happy to see Elizabeth here. Didn't see her out there until now. I thought I was going to have to wing this thing. But Elizabeth Butler is with our Chamber of Commerce and serves as our economic development professional at the Chamber.
All right.
So I have Todd Lumbert with me here from SPI Pharma.
I'm the site manager for the facility. So we are moving a existing line from Newcastle, Delaware. We're moving it out here to Grand Haven, expanding our facility slightly by about 14,000 square feet, and like to get a tax abatement for doing that move.
All right. Any comments? Or wait a minute.
Not us.
I'm sorry, this was the public hearing. I can't ask for any comments from up here until we're done with that. Anybody else would like to address the SPI Pharma request? If not, we will close the public hearing, and then I'll ask Linda to read the agenda item.
This is to approve a request from SPI Pharma for a new industrial facilities tax exemption certificate for a period of 12 years for real property in the estimated amount of $3,500,000, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. The administration recommends approval.
Okay, and I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All righty, now we can ask questions, or if there's anything else you'd like to tell us. It sounds like that there's a business coming here from somewhere else is good news for us.
Yep, it's a soft gel production facility, so the product is used to make your soft gel tablets up over the counter, and we're moving it here to produce that here with our rest of our products that we make.
All right,
So it'll be interesting.
absolutely.
So
You
this
gonna
would
say
be the
something, Pat?
Tylenol and the Advil that we get out of a bottle would,
It can be used for that, yep, for the soft gel tablets.
oh, cool. Sorry, good.
I was just going to point out 2 additional new jobs created as a result of the expansion. And often the city council likes to tour these facilities. You've been to SPI Pharma in the last couple of years. I think it might have been the last place you visited. So I don't know if there's a desire or a willingness to entertain a tour.
Yeah, I thought we were having one, but somehow it got canceled. I'm not sure what the circumstances were, but you were there just last year when we did a lab expansion as well.
Yep.
We put that on the facility, so now we're working on bringing a new product line in.
Because we had to wear booties or something, as I remember.
Yep.
So maybe we tour after they get the improvement done?
That would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be
Sure.
good.
So that would work great.
Okay.
All right.
Had a recycling tour tonight. Not that they had to pick recycling over you guys, but there was one or the other.
We're open, just let us know.
All right. Any other comments?
I'm glad to see the expansion happening here and not the other way around.
Yeah, we are too.
Sometimes when they consolidate facilities, you're on the losing end, so this is good that it's here. And I like to see the extra 2 jobs, the extra activity, and the tax exempt certificate, just so people understand, this doesn't change the tax that you're paying on other things now, it's just the new stuff is gonna be taxed at a lower rate for a period of years. So there's kind of a no-lose situation for the city.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're ready to vote.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes.
Bruger?
Yes.
McCallum?
Yes. Thanks. All right, first item in new business.
The first item under new business is to approve the appointment of Amy Bessinger as the finance director for the city of Grand Haven. The administration recommends approval.
All right, need a motion?
So moved. And seconded.
Been moved and seconded.
race.
That didn't take long. All right, Pat, you want to introduce Amy?
I would be happy to. Our 25-year finance director recently retired, so now we've got our next 25-year plus hopeful to break that record. Amy Bessinger's been with the city for 12 years? 12 years now. Very familiar with all of you, with our team here, very well supported across the board. Very impressive young woman who has achieved a great deal during her time here and has really grown in her position and gets it, really gets how Grand Haven likes to do things, gets the fact that we need to be very fiscally responsible, transparent, and participative and engaging. I mean, she's checks all the boxes, so it's a very good day when I get a chance to appoint a professional of this caliber, subject, of course, to city council confirmation. So that is the recommendation tonight, to appoint Amy Bessinger as the city finance director.
All right. Anybody have any comments or questions?
No, I just want to, I'm in full support of this. I mean, I've been working with Amy for a while on, Jerry, you know, we're on all those crazy committees, the audit committee and everything else that goes on around here. So anytime it has to do with finance, you've been very, very helpful in the position that you were in before, and I think it's a good move for you to move forward. It's a pretty big position, and I'm sure you can handle it 100%. You're very good at it, so. Working behind Jim, you pick up what he has, and also now it's time for you to fine-tune it and get it even better yet. So I wish you, if it make it through this, but I wish you good luck on it.
I was on the interview committee also, quite impressed, and of course, we've known you for years. And it's always a pleasure to be able to promote from within as well, because sometimes your best talent is right under your nose.
I guess since we're going around the horn, I'll say I also had the opportunity to sit down and really enjoyed our lunch and interview with Pat. And one of the key things that struck me was our willingness to become even more transparent and present forms that are even easier to read than Jim's, which will probably, I know, right? Yeah. More colorful graphs and easy to read displays so that everybody in town can understand exactly where our finances are. So I applaud you on that and look forward to you seeing you attain that goal. So congratulations.
Nice that we can appoint somebody from within instead of having to go outside. So congratulations, and I know you'll do well. Thank you.
Just going to echo what everybody else has said. I know that whenever Jim, was here talking to us about the city finances, he always gave all the credit to his very able staff. And so we appreciated that and the trust that he had in all of you. And so we welcome you, Amy, to step into that position. It is, bringing somebody in from the outside, it takes, I think, a couple of years for them to learn the system and to learn all the things that we do. And Amy, we have somebody that's very, very familiar because she's done it and she knows how it works. And so she can hit the ground running and doesn't have this big learning curve. So all the best to you. We wish you well, and awesome. You bet. So I think we're ready to vote.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes.
Bruger?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
McCaleb?
Yes.
And would you care to swear Amy in immediately so that I can
Yeah,
make her work yet tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You thought you were going home.
I thought that was, I was going to ask who
all those
swears
nice
her
things
in,
we
but,
said?
we don't want to waste any time. Let's.
Picture time, Pat.
I, Amy Bessinger, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the Finance Director in and for the City of Grand Haven, County of Ottawa, and State of Michigan according to the best of my ability.
I will. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. I understand, Amy, that you have your own loves of graphs, pictures, and all sorts of ways to demonstrate. And I don't know if you have your own stock of sweaters, or we'll find out.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right. All right. Next item.
Next item is to enter into a new agreement for economic development services with the Grand Haven Spring Lake Ferrisburg Chamber, with the first year cost being $25,636, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. The administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Moved and seconded, and Elizabeth's already up there. So.
So I am Elizabeth Butler. I'm Director of Economic Development at the Chamber, and I'm here tonight just to talk about the economic development contracts that has recently expired as of September 30th, so we want to keep that going. We've been in contract with the City of Grand Haven for the past 30 years, so we want to, every 3 years we renew it. We are a shared resource among all the 5 area units of government, so we're sharing this contract, overall contract with all the 5 local area units of government. And so we're here to renew the new contract. There is a change in this contract over the previous contract. Over the past years, we've been losing a funding source for economic development, and so we are realigning the contract to be able to cover our costs. We also have a fair share in this contract as well, so we're having about the same share as you guys are having in funding this. But we're proposing that the increase you have about a $6,000 per year increase over last year as your fair share. The other 4 area units of government will also have a fair share increase as well. In the contract, I just want to make one quick note. In the contract, we wrote it as, we rounded all our percentages, so we wrote it as 26,000, not the 25,636. So I just want to let you know that.
So it should read 26?
26,000 even, yeah.
Okay.
And when I was presenting all the numbers to Pat and the other managers, we had the percentages at like 25.63, and then when we did the contracts, we just rounded everything, just made it easier.
Sounds like something Bob would do, take it out to the 3rd decimal point or something.
Yeah, Uncle.
Hold on.
Yeah, that Bob.
So we would like to count on your continued investment in economic development in our region.
All righty, any comments for Elizabeth? Questions? Can you give us just a quick synopsis of what is the what economic development services are?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I actually had a presentation put together, but I put that off to the side after I saw how large your agenda was, and I wanted to respect your time. But things like manufacturing retention visits, the tax abatements like we did with SPI Pharma tonight. I was the one working with them on their application and filling out all the paperwork. Job training grants. So right now it's the hot time for job training grants, so we're busy working on that. We did like a manufacturer's wage survey, so all the manufacturers in the area know how competitive their wages are to somebody else. Available property sites within the communities, what are those? Counseling for new businesses, helping them get established, helping current and existing business, help them grow, give them connections. So it's a wide range of things. You know, we even have gotten into helping to make those community videos that have just come out about Grand Haven to help, spur people to want to bring talent and attract talent here to our community. So,
all right, well, I appreciate that because we just,
absolutely
all the services that the chamber offers and our partnership with them and how it's we help each other with all of that. So, I appreciate that.
We've invited Elizabeth back to our next meeting to the work session to give you a full rundown. She's got quite an impressive ammunition belt of things she's been working on, and I think it's worth spending a little time in the next meeting.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to share with you all the the more specific things that we've been doing. But going forward, what are the strategic things that we should be doing to continue our relationship?
Okay, no, that's awesome. All right, looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
If we hired this for a person in staff, Pat, and did all the work that they did, what would the cost approximately be so people at home understand how much work they really do? I'm sure it's going to be probably about at least 4 times higher than this.
That's a very good estimate because we share this with 4 other municipalities and we all split the costs, and to retain somebody of Elizabeth's talent level, we'd have to hire somebody like Elizabeth, so we would have to have somebody like Elizabeth on our own staff. So to be able to share her with our neighbors, and I think her talents are well applied because there's peaks and valleys in the city. Sometimes we're really needing a lot of help with the SPI Pharma expansion we talked about earlier, and then other times things are maybe a little slower here. She's able to get over and work on a community development block grant in Spring Lake Village or something. So she's kept very busy, and by collaborating in this manner, we're all able to save, and none of us could individually afford somebody in this position. So.
That's a point I wanted to put out there to let everybody know that the offering that you give to us and the work that's done is money well spent, even though you're charging us $374 more than we expected.
Well, yes.
But I mean, you round it up instead of rounding down. I would more likely help to see it round down, but I mean, you're going up higher yet. Not only did you give us an increase, but we got a double increase. So, but you do a lot of work for us, so I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? I think we're good to go. We can vote.
Manetza?
Yes.
Bruger?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
McCallum?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item.
Next item is to affirm a renovation design for the Grand Trunk Depot building that creates a more inviting presentation and orientation toward the water by installing arched double doorways while acknowledging and respecting the historic period during which the depot served the traveling public on our waterfront. The administration recommends approval.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Support?
It's been moved and seconded. Pat, do you want to introduce this item for us?
Sure, Your Honor, I appreciate it. There's been a good deal of discussion about this. The building has been under city control for a couple of years now, and we would like to do a preservation project, renovation project to try to take care of a number of things that are wrong with the building that need attention. And we've got the luxury of working with our Grand Haven Area Community Foundation and potentially have access to some philanthropic interest in helping us restore and preserve that historic asset there. There's been much said about the openings on the water side of the building. A lot of discussion focused on that single element. When we received the drawings that you're looking at right now, my first stop was the Historic Commission. I went to that meeting in August. Then I went to the Preservation and Place Committee meeting before presenting it to City Council, I think at your last meeting or maybe 2 meetings ago. You know, I don't think that having an active, vital building and a historic building are exclusive things. I think we can have an historic building that has lots of people in it, and I think we can have lots of people in a building that's very historic. And I think if we're thoughtful and careful about the way we go forward, we can preserve the building and also make it a more active, vital part of our community. An excerpt in the memo that I sent you is just from a contractor that specializes in this sort of thing. And I agree with what Marcia Peterson said earlier about, you know, working with appropriate professionals to make sure we get the job done right, whatever we do end up doing there. It's still very early on. We're seeking funding partners. We have no money to do anything there right now, so we're still in the infancy stages. But historic preservation demands a restoration contractor that's not only skilled and efficient in the restoration process, but has the ability to understand the historical architectural significance, original craftsmanship techniques, and a sense of enthusiasm to restore a building and revitalize their use. So I think if we're cautious about how we proceed and we get the right people working on this with plenty of community engagement and thoughtful improvement of the building, we can end up with a very historic building that's being seen and appreciated by far more people than it ever has been. Today we have over 2 million people walk past this building every year, and that rivals whatever occurred here and then some from our transportation days. You know, there are more people coming and visiting and seeing this building than ever before, so let's get them inside the building and let them appreciate the historical significance and understand a little more about what we used to be. But that doesn't, you know, we don't have to cheat our future use of this building at the expense of trying to honor our past. I think we can do both, have a future very active use, activate that space, get a lot of people in there, and also have it be a beautiful historic asset. So that's, you know, what I have to say about it, Your Honor. You asked me to introduce it. There's a brief memo in your packet, and I think, you know, nothing we've done, the catwalk, the stadium, the coal tipple, none of it's been done in a hurry. So this is a journey that is just getting underway now. And I hate to nip it off because we're afraid of what damage we could do. You know, I don't think we'll do damage. We haven't done damage in past projects, so I don't think this would be any different.
Well, I appreciate the passion that this building creates within so many sectors of the community, but I think about not that long ago when behind this building were old rusted out bleachers that have since been replaced by a stadium, by Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium, and that faces onto the river. And to me, there could be few things better than to more closely wed the depot to the openness of the stadium. When Johnson Hill long ago came to Grand Haven, they said you need to open up your waterfront. And since the depot isn't going to be moved anywhere, one of the things that, you know, that because he said a lot of people, you look down up Washington Street, you don't know there's a river down there. So that was one of the things when we built the stadium, was with that in mind. It was taking down the bleachers, opening up that vista, and giving this amazing view, this amazing location that we have at on the mouth of the Grand River to be part of our waterfront. And to then have more access to the depot building is, with the bleachers gone, is I think just an amazing opportunity to open this building up and use it to its full potential as part of Waterfront Stadium. So, and I think, I don't know if, I'm a minor in history from Grand Valley. History is, to me, one of the most fascinating. It's you don't, the thing about it, you have to know your history to make sure you don't stumble over things that you don't repeat yourself. And so the people that, I've always had this tremendous fascination for the people that settled Grand Haven, for the people that work so hard over the years that it has been established to bring us to where we are today. And I think about all the people, there's some amazing pictures of this depot. One of them hangs in my bank where you see just a band playing and the people are getting on the ferry. This extremely busy picture of, it including the depot, as to what it was in its heyday. And it saddens me to see it, empty or near empty. And when we know what it could be, to bring back that vibrancy of this building, of bringing community back here and using it to its full potential. And I think, I would hope that, I know that, because I got a lot of emails over this weekend with people concerned about what was going to be done. And the answer is nothing's been established of what's going to be done, except that we would like to open up the back of the building so that there is a better vista of the stadium and not just stadium, but the river. And so how to best do that? But that's not been established. That takes talking to people, getting the experts in, and making sure that you do right by this amazing resource that we have in our community. I know that's not popular with everybody, but the whole idea of the stadium in the beginning wasn't popular with everybody either. But I look at at the comments that we got in the beginning, and I look at the comments that we have now that it's built, and that it holds twice as many people as we were ever told it was going to hold. And it's an amazing addition to our waterfront, and I think that this can be also. But I would like to have the opportunity to accept not anything final, just accept the concept that this is a possibility in engaging the right people and the right talent in order to make sure that this is done right. But that's my position. I think this is to see it as a, because if we do nothing, it's going to sit there, and the city doesn't have the resources in order to invest in it. And there is that opportunity to get philanthropic interest to assist in restoring this building to very vibrant and full use. So with that, I will give way to others to comment.
All right, I'll speak. Going back to the Johnson Hill study, they wanted the depot to be gone. They said either move it somewhere or knock it down, because they wanted to open up the entire waterfront. I think that was never a well-received idea by anyone. But something that Pat said was absolutely correct when he said that you can have a vibrant, active, modern, new use in a historic building. I think that's very true of the building with the facade that it has. I don't know that anybody's made a case for why this would make it any more vibrant, any more active, any more capable of being activated. We've had activities just with Heart Walk in there just recently and seemed to work pretty well. So as far as can we make it an active use? Can we put people in there and out of there? People walk by it every day because there's nothing happening. That's largely because we haven't actually done anything with the building since we got it from the museum. It's not because of the way the doors and windows are shaped. It's because there's nothing there to do. So yeah, I think that the point is well taken that this historic building can be activated, can be used very well. I think there's been no case made for opening it up, improving vistas, getting more light, more people through. The doors in there, I measured them, they're 40 inches wide. That's wider than a normal sized door as they are. You could put modern doors and modern windows in the existing masonry opening, have a very functional building envelope without changing the original masonry work, the original brick that really defines this thing. I've often talked about adaptive reuse of old buildings, and I firmly believe in that. I think when you have an older building, depending on what it is and how it can be used and the condition it's in, you can adaptively reuse it. You can make changes to it. If, for example, the diesel plant becomes available to us for something, and it's capable of being reused and adapted, you might not be able to save the facade as it is, or maybe you can do something interesting with it. So I think that there's always a case for adaptive reuse of old buildings. When your old building is an artifact in itself, and it's such a fundamental piece of the history of this city, and so thoroughly intact as it is, I say that you try to find a way to use it without changing the facade, without changing the envelope or the appearance of it, and not take those chances of messing it up. Because an old masonry, a 19th century masonry building, taking it, redoing the arches, redoing the brickwork, redoing all that stuff without having obvious changes to the brickwork, the facade, or even possibly a disastrous outcome, it's just not worth doing all that. I don't see any upside to this. I see plenty of downside, and I see that a building which is just crying out to be used, but not so thoroughly modified. Let's fix up the interior. Let's fix up the envelope of the building by sealing it better with putting better windows and doors, but let's not mess up the masonry. I wouldn't approve the motion as made because it asks us to commit to this change. If the motion were to find ways to fix up the interior, put in a better mechanical system, and improve the windows and doors as they were, yeah, that's fine. That's exactly what I want. But that's not what we're being asked to say we approve of in concept. I don't approve this concept. Oh, that's it.
I think this is a good concept. I like this concept. I think it makes it user-friendly. I said that last time. And I think the design is really well. It keeps the integrity of the building, and yet it makes it user-friendly. When the piano factory across the street was being redone, some people don't like the way that was being done either, but I think they did a great job with that, and there was criticism with that. And we have criticism with this, you know, and this still isn't this is just the concept. It really isn't the final design or anything, so I'm all in favor of it. I think it would be a great addition to the waterfront like this. It would open that building up a little bit and make it a lot more user-friendly. So I support it.
Josh is just studying it all here.
I'm thinking hard right now.
Just waiting for me to come forward. I know I will. I'll come forward. I've always said you have to know what your past is before you can move into the future. And Jerry kind of alluded to that a little bit about her history thing, but that's been my history. Born and raised here. Family's been here next to forever. And yeah, it looks, before you said it was sitting there, we had this metal structure in a way. Well, when we took down that nice bleachers, we opened up a gem and said, here, look what we got now. It opened it up. Yes, you put a nice, beautiful stadium, but it gave the depot more beauty than what it did. By going with, I'm not in favor of changing any concept right now, because this is only a second drawing we've seen, and the first one was really terrible. And this one here, sure, it's eye-pleasing, but it's not what we need. You have to know what the history of this whole thing is. It's a historic building. It's not the piano factory, which was not designated as a historic building when they did it. And it's not anything else. It's part of our history. My family was down there, quite a few times. They had the old Johanna fish tug and that. We fished out of there. And if you remember the history of that depot and how many people came through there, and how many boats were sitting out in the harbor waiting to get in here to unload their merchandise or bring the passengers through here. Yes, it would make it very vibrant. By us not doing anything, it's not going to be vibrant. The way it's sitting right now, we have no money. We have nothing to do with it, and the thing of it is, we're just letting it sit. And I can't say anything about going forward. I have to agree with Bob. If you want to do anything, let's get it so it's usable. We used it for Art Walk. I was in there quite a few times, and it was absolutely fantastic seeing people in there. But there's things that need to be done inside first before we start worrying about what it looks on the outside. I think the outside is beautiful, but we need to make it so we can actually use it inside and make sure it's a usable structure. If you think you're going to be putting wider doors in and putting more glass in to see the view, that's not what the building was built for, and we don't need to do that. You want to make it vibrant? Let's get the inside cleaned up. Let's make it look a little bit better. it's usable, but you got, like Bob said, tighten things up. We need a heater, we need everything else in there. There's a lot of things that needs to be done mechanical-wise and stuff. But as far as that, I'm not in favor. I'm not gonna be. I think my parents would probably kill me if I voted for this. They come from their grave, come back and get me. My mother would haunt me for sure. My mother was a very good historian. She taught our whole family about different things and how it went through in the town here. So we would all have this memory of what it was and what it should be. And we don't want to lose any of that. Every time you start touching anything, you lose a little bit more of yourself. And you don't want to lose that. You want to make sure that you maintain your integrity and keep your dignity of where you came from. So I'm not in favor of this at all right now.
Well, I guess I'm up. I'm squinting and thinking real hard on this. Part of this is a little bit of confusion. I just looked at the calendar and we had this presented back in September, and at that point, the message that we on council heard was that the Preservation in Place Committee was pretty much in favor of it, and the Historic Commission was pretty much in favor of it. And now it's not so, and I accept the greatest updated version. But I don't think, unlike Mike, I think my dad's still living, so he's not going to come back and get me. But we, in part, what we do at my small little company is with homes in residential areas is to try to update, to renew and refresh what is old to make it look like it fits in with what may have been there 100 years ago. And I'll be the first to admit we don't always succeed, but through many different iterations, at some point in time, either we get it right, or in this case, I'm referring to the design going through many iterations. And I think applause to the Preservation in Place and Historic Commission. Your job is to say no, don't change anything. We had one iteration, the first one, which I think we all agreed, and you said no, and we had a second iteration, and you said no, and a third iteration, which actually was combined of about 3 different iterations. So we got the message, I think, that the Historic Commission and the Preservation in Place Commission doesn't want a thing to be done with this as far as altering the building. I think that is a great view, and that is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin that we have to balance out up here on council is all the different interests with that building and with the community and with the use. And if we were to preserve everything that we're here in town, we'd still have the gangway going out to the river, and we wouldn't have the waterfront stadium at all. So it's hard to find a balance for me, just thinking off the top of my head. I will say I like this iteration better than the first 4. I think we've gotten a lot closer. Is this perfect? Absolutely not, but it's moving in the right direction. And with donors in the wings ready to invest, with a community that's eager to have this opened up, I'm going to vote in favor of this tonight to send it on its way. I think this is part 2 of opening up Waterfront Stadium, and we can preserve and we can carefully remove every single brick that is taken out and reuse every single one of them in those enlarged openings. We can save every single brick that we don't use and put it in a pile, and if we want to put it back together at some point in time, we can do that. It'll cost extra money. It'd be silly to do, but it's doable if that's what would appease those who are fans of keeping the building as is. But I think we need to be a little more flexible, and with that in mind, I'm going to be voting in support of this.
Okay. So unless there are other comments, I think we're ready to vote.
Bruger?
Sorry. Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
No.
Manetza?
No.
McCallum?
Yes. Next item.
Next item is to hire Lakeshore Property Services to restore the dune between Harbor and Highland Drives at a cost not to exceed $31,155. The administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Pat, you want to explain to us what's going to happen here? This sounds like an interesting concept to a long problem we've been facing for some time.
Yes, this is sort of a creative way, I think, to work with our neighbors there on Harbor, mostly on Highland Drive, where they have some concerns about the type of landscaping across the street. It's basically wild. It's not something that the city maintains actively. It's just been allowed to grow over the years. There's a variety of trees and bushes and shrubs, both native and invasive, but not something we've ever paid a lot of attention to, except every 7, 8, 9 years, somebody hires somebody to go out there and cut it straight across so that the views are preserved. And we get excited about that and go out and say who was in here cutting, and we have to do an investigation and talk to people, and it gets to be a little difficult sometimes having those conversations with law enforcement sometimes and our residents about things we'd prefer not to have to deal with. So we thought this year, rather than continue that idea of constantly this back and forth, and by constantly, I guess it's not all the time, it's every so many years. And it seems like each time we've kind of forgotten about the last time, and we have to go back and look at it. And we thought, well, why don't we approach the neighbors and say, why don't you guys help us cover the cost of removing all that stuff and replanting native growth that would be relatively low growing and not anything that would get up tall like a bunch of full growth deciduous trees that are there now. So we got a quote of $31,155 to do that. They'll come back, it's a 3-year quote, they'll come back the next couple of years and do the maintenance and the upkeep. And we did get 2 neighboring residents to agree to split $25,000 of that, so that we would pay just over $6,000, they would pay $25,000. So it seemed like a very reasonable outcome to what's been a struggle for a number of years, and we're, DPW and myself are recommending that we move forward.
All righty, I just, having seen, it's not always a picturesque view, especially after somebody gets done hacking at the things that are growing there. So I think this sounds like a huge improvement along something that isn't going to grow in people's in people's way, and going to look like a more manicured landscaped area. I think to be an enhancement. So.
Yeah, I do remember it. Once those trees grow over 3 inches, we're not supposed to cut them down, correct, Pat?
Once they grow over 3 inches, pardon me?
Yeah, in diameter. Isn't it 3 inches? The DEQ says.
Oh, yeah, then it becomes a critical dune issue.
And we had a few of the residents at one time decided that they didn't want that there, so I chopped them.
Took saw in their own hand?
Well,
or somebody
they hired somebody.
They hired somebody in the middle of the night.
I do remember the occasion when that did happen, so, as we were on council, but.
You say they took the saw into their own hand, or?
Whatever.
I fought the saw and the saw won.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's saw and the saw won.
So this company worked on dune hills before, you know?
Is it something that we?
Has this company ever worked on dune hills before? Is it something they do is
landscaping?
I can verify that. I believe they have, but I think that's a great idea to double check that before we cut them loose. Part of the bid is to get the proper permits for us from Eagle.
I'm just thinking, you know, that you take too many things out of there and you lose some of them roots that are in the ground, you'll start losing some of the sand and stuff washing down the hill.
Got some erosion there.
Yeah.
There's nothing at the bottom stopping it. Remember now, there's no retaining walls, nothing in that order. If you start removing some of the growth, gotta make sure that they have everything in control.
We'll double, triple check and make sure we get the proper permit from Environment and Great Lakes and Energy Department.
Yeah, I would think whatever they cut down, they don't take the roots out.
No, they don't.
And then planting new stuff that just isn't going to grow tall.
That's in their work scope, is they cut them off at the grade, leave the roots held together where you have trees.
Yeah.
Where you have other stuff, you might have nothing.
Yeah.
But, you know, so no one has approached Deagle yet, DEQ, Eagle. That hasn't been approached yet as far as permits or whether or not this is an adequate work plan.
I'm very fortunate that our DPW director is sitting at home sending me texts
Okay.
Watching on the internet right now, who says they are all invasive trees today. They're allowed and encouraged to be removed per our critical dune permit. So yes, they have worked on dunes previously, this company.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
As
it's
far-
pretty delicate up there, so we don't wanna,
I mean, looking at the work plan they have, it looks reasonable from what little I know about it. I know that they do have to leave root systems in place to stabilize the hill while other stuff is growing. Just want to make sure we have verified this with the appropriate authorities, because it's critical dune. And I'm really happy to see that area residents are stepping up to pay much of the cost. It helps the city's budget, obviously, but also those folks are going to benefit in the long run from this, so glad to see that they're willing to step up. And if it, if we had to find a place in our budget for this by itself, it'd be a tougher sell. But as it is, I appreciate that generosity, and it doesn't look like we're being asked to contribute nearly as much this way. So let's just make sure the work plan is in order,
Okay.
and permits are in place.
Yeah, I think my primary comment is just a gratitude to the neighbors who not only presented a challenge, a problem in the community that they saw, that we saw, found it mutually beneficial to address it, and not only found it mutually beneficial to address it, but stepped up to cover close to 80% of the cost. That's phenomenal. So if there's a challenge out there and you're willing to step up and put some dollars and, what do they say, get some skin in the game, I've got a lot of respect for that. So thank you to them on behalf of the community. And the community benefits and these homeowners benefit who are immediately behind this tree and scrub brush that's there right now. So I can see that being beneficial to them too. So yeah, this is great mutually beneficial relationship. So thank you to them.
I just remember, when they did the end at Crescent Drive, they had big washouts. They put the sewer line in down there, and anyways, this company came in and was supposed to make it just, so it wouldn't wash out. Well, it did wash out, and we had a big problem down there. So I just didn't want that to happen again.
Okay.
good point. No, I wanna, were you gonna say something, Mike?
No.
Okay, well, I wanna just
I've already said, I already know what it looked like before, and I know
Oh,
some
I
of
know.
those trees in there, so we're all.
But I also want to thank the two residents that stepped up and said they would fund the greatest portion of this, so we appreciate that a lot. It helps them, helps us, and it's going to make that drive along Harbor look a whole lot better, so I like seeing cherries.
And the 6,000 of ours, where's that coming from?
That'll come out of one of Derek's many budgets.
Oh, okay, and
home
Derek's,
right
Derek's
now.
gonna have a whole lot less to
See
do
another
than that.
text coming.
Might come out of council budget.
We've got major streets and local streets budgets and rights-of-way maintenance, and
Okay.
we'll be able to conserve somewhere else and come up with this under contractual services.
We'll just take something else off the list and do this.
We'll have to. Yes, sir.
No,
I
that's
just
great.
wanna know what we're gonna take off.
I believe we were anticipating this back earlier in the year. Derek and I have been talking about this for some time, and we've had several meetings with residents in the area, and we were able to get two of them to step up in a big way. Some others did agree to pitch in. We had proposed a special assessment district, and we sent out a letter to all of the owners, about 30 different owners in the neighborhood. And as you can expect,
No.
not all of them were like these two particular owners who said they'd be happy to help make a big difference, and they're actually paying more than what their fair share would have been.
Absolutely. That's very, very generous of them.
Absolutely.
Just wanna know where it was coming from.
Alrighty, I think we're ready to vote.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
McCaleb?
Yes. Next item. Oops.
Next item is to approve the Duncan Park Preservation Fund to preserve and protect Duncan Park in the city of Grand Haven. The administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and seconded. Pat, you want to explain what we're proposing to do here?
Yes, ma'am. The legal fees at Duncan Park, since the current, onslaught of litigation that we've had for many years began, we have spent a total of just over $119,000 on legal fees to protect that treasured natural area. That does not count what our insurance company spent. They certainly more than double that amount. It's not for the faint of heart. It really makes me sad when we have to spend very scarce resources to defend public interests from very real threats. You know, we can't just sit back and do nothing, so we have to step up and pay for this stuff. Well, our ability to do that is getting very thin. And I hate to scrimp and not do the legal work that is absolutely necessary. So what I'm proposing is that we set up a legal defense fund at the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation to accept donations to help us continue this battle and win it. And I think with the typical support we see in Grand Haven, I think we'll be successful. I think we need to not hold back. It's not a time to withdraw. It's a time to really get fully engaged and spend what we need to spend to make sure that asset is never lost. It's a much loved, impossible to replace natural area that, you know, if there's the slimmest chance that something could happen where this would fall into private hands and get developed in some private way, that'd really be tragic. So I'm asking that you authorize this fund tonight, and then we will begin the hard work of trying to convince people to give to this fund. But I think it'll be an attractive give, particularly the end of the year. We want to get ramped up before the end of the calendar year, so people looking for end-of-year giving opportunities might consider this.
All right.
Definitely, it is a jewel in our town, and very few towns have something like that in here. As being one of the oldest forestry, we all know that we had that history taken to us this far south, is one thing that we need to take in consideration. It's very natural, and that's the way Mrs. Duncan wanted it kept, as being natural as much as possible, and that's where it has been, and that's always wanted to be in the city of Grand Haven. So we need help from outside. People are trying to take it from us, and it's not the way it was supposed to be. So I'm all in favor of setting this fund up and moving forward with it.
I just think it's amazing that an attorney from not here can find family members who haven't been here in generations to hunt them down to try to come back after the city, to totally undermine the original intent of Duncan Park, or Duncan's Woods as we call it, which is to be a community asset. And I played in that growing up as a kid, and my dad played in it growing up as a kid, and I'm starting to sound like Mike. Yeah, absolutely just awful what they're attempting to do. So I'm hoping that folks will step up to give to this fund to protect and preserve something that we hold dear in Grand Haven. And to those family members who are out there listening, who are attempting to undo what your previous generations have done and the gift from the Duncan family, come on over, take a look at it, see that we're preserving it exactly as your great-grandparents would have intended. So I'm thrilled to start this fund. I think it's a great idea. And it's also called the Duncan Park Preservation Fund. You mentioned legal fund or whatever it was, but the Preservation Fund, which is the perfect name for it, Pat. So thank you for doing this.
So now, I think this is a good idea too, so that we can start to solicit funds and have a way of keeping this park. And the legal fees are astonishing. We could have done that Dune 4 times for what we wasted on legal fees here. So I mean, this is just an incredible amount of money that's been flushed. And it's all because of greed, but be that as it may. Setting up this fund will be a good resource. I almost preferred we could have kept the original title of Legal Defense Fund, because that literally is what we're trying to do. But maybe this will morph into other things that we can do for the park. So in the long run, that might be best. Now, in reading through all the attachment you had looked like a lot of boilerplate as to how funds are set up. Says that we may request funds, the community fund will decide what's a worthy request, or something like that. But I think that we've had pretty good luck with making our wishes the ones that are respected. We can take money as we need it. Would anybody besides the city be able to request money from this fund? That's strictly for the city to request? Or would other parties private parties be able to access this? I'm just looking at the boilerplate language in this agreement, making sure I understand who accesses this money.
Technically, I'm reading it real quick. The foundation technically owns the funds, once we set it up and get it going. But they would only distribute funds following a recommendation from the city. So it is a temporary community service fund for a very specific purpose, which is to preserve Duncan Park. So I would think that should we accomplish that purpose, which is defeat these current legal challenges, and we get to a point where we're comfortable that that's behind us, we could then close the fund out by transferring these funds to some other Duncan Park related fund that they might currently hold. So it would only be at the recommendation of the city, but I'll triple check that because that's the way all of our funds work.
Right, I mean, it's a great way to accumulate the money and to receive donations. We just, it's like one step removed from our ability to control the money. So I just want to make sure I understand how that actually works.
I think it's good we are starting a fund like this too, because I think it gives the people of the city of Grand Haven a chance to contribute to the defense of this property. And like Mike said, I used to go there when I was a kid too, and I hate to see that we end up losing that. So, but I think it's good that we give people in Grand Haven an opportunity to help donate for the protection of that piece of property.
Heck, y'all, you guys went there when you were kids. I still go there, so. But, no, I think this is a very good thing that we do, and that gives everybody in the community an opportunity to participate in the preservation of the challenges to Duncan Park. It's so, the tragedy that led to all this, that we've been litigating this for years and years, to the point of to me, it becomes a harassment. But it's a necessary thing, because legal fees sometimes suits are brought just to discourage you from defending yourself. So I think this is a very important thing to do, and I think gives an outlet for people of the community to step up and help out with this much loved park. As all we're trying to do is live up to Martha Duncan's wishes that this should stay natural for the enjoyment of the people of Grand Haven forever. So this is our aim. That was her aim. This is our aim. So yeah, very much in favor of doing this. So if there's no other comments, we are ready to vote.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes.
Fruger?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
McCaleb?
Yes. Next item.
Next item is to approve marina rates for 2020 as follows. Rate G for Friday and Saturday, rate E for Sunday through Thursday, and charge group reservation holders by the slip length instead of the boat length. The administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and seconded. Shar is here to answer any questions, explain the rates, and answer any questions.
Good evening. Shar Sese, Community Affairs Manager for the city. One of my responsibilities in my role is to oversee the operations of the municipal marina, and annually the Department of Natural Resources publishes their rates that they are allowing each community to select from. This year, we are 3 months ahead of what we have been in the past since I've been in my role. So we are normally looking at these rates in January, but they have moved this process up into October because it fits better with their reservation system when it goes live for people to make reservations. So a change that they had this year is in your packet. I put in the sample rate sheet from 2019, and you can see that they have increased the number of categories they have, and I'd have to assume, nothing was in my information that came from the DNR, but I'd have to assume based on some surveys that they've been doing to municipal marinas, that they probably added some additional categories in there to give other options for marinas to make their selections. So as it said in your memo, I am suggesting the rates that stay most closely to the same as they were last year, and that is the rate E and the rate G in the new rate sheet that you've been given. We're also looking at keeping the rates for the charter captains the same, where they pay the $5,000 annual fee. They have incremental payments that they pay throughout the season. If they've paid on time and they've been a member in good standing, then they get their discounted $1,000 at the end of the season, which will be coming up in the next council meeting. And then there was another recommendation that I made in my memo that I want to bring to your attention. And that was, we had the paddle pub came in mid-season this year down at the marina, and it was a great success from their perspective. They had a lot of rides out there. It seemed to be very successful amongst the other business owners down there. And in my memo, I recommended that we perhaps suggest that we give them a long-term lease. But just this afternoon, I was contacted by another charter captain that would like the opportunity to be able to bid on that. So I'm looking for some direction on that, whether or not we put that slip out for bid. And then one other recommendation I'd like to be able to put forward for consideration. There's a slip that we currently have at the marina that we keep out of the DNR's reservation system because it's directly adjacent to the slip where the paddle pub was at. And so it's a unique size boat that needs to fit in there, and then we just check people in-house. They can call into the marina directly so that we can make sure that we have the right parameters for that particular slip. And I'm also recommending that we possibly keep out that slip 1, which is directly adjacent to the new stadium, for a couple of reasons. It's something that we could perhaps use in the future for an endowment for the stadium to be able to continue to build resources in there that we could perhaps build into some of the special events that we're having come about. I would expect that we would keep it for the Coast Guard Festival. They're using that as part of their fundraising efforts. But just another idea that we could perhaps entertain to see if that was maybe something that we could utilize in the future. And all that is simply, it's kept out of the DNR's reservation system. It's still there for us to reserve in-house. They would just call the marina. And if we had the need for something like that to be for maybe a concert series or something, it would be available for us to do something different. Still earning our revenue from it. We would pay the city would be paid through that, and then if there was money for maybe setting aside for the stadium endowment in the future. That's all I have on that.
I just want to embellish a little bit. For example, if we had we've been very successful, and I know Courtyard Concerts are in the house. If we have a successful concert series down there and we have access to that slip 1, we could use that as part of the fundraising for the concert series. It'd be very valuable. You're essentially backstage, and the band's performing right in front of you, and you're on a boat. So I guess it depends who the band was. If I just randomly got this boat slip and I pulled in and there's Los Lonely Boys right outside my dock, I'd say, hey, this is all right. So I think it's a very insightful recommendation that Char's brought forward that gives us a little bit of flexibility next summer, and we can see how it goes. If it doesn't fill up, if we're not able to deliver at least the regular revenue we would usually get, we can always undo it in the following year. But I think, quite possibly just one show could pay for the whole season's worth of rentals there if it's the right act and you get the right customer that wants to use that slip.
On the paddle pub part, you said that you have in here recommend paddle pub for long-term lease. Now you say that somebody else is interested, and what do we do?
Right.
But the paddle pub was something kind of new, fresh, interesting, something we've had charter boats for a long time, and we'll have for time to come, and if paddle boat fails, we could go back to that. But I really like to see paddle pub get this long-term lease so that they have a chance to really get off the ground. They had a pretty good year for the short time they were there.
They did.
And it is something interesting and new and fresh, so let's not cut that off just so we can have an extra slip for a charter boat, because we can do that later if we need to. So I like your recommendation for the long-term lease, and I understand your predicament about here's another party interested. But, I'd kind of like to see this get more of a chance. As far as the other slips, I think the recommendations make sense. And Pat's observation there might be an interesting opportunity. Don't know if it works that way, but I guess you could find out. You do have a note in here, it's too early to tell if our midweek rate reduction has significant impact on this year's revenue. And so you want to keep this as kind of an experiment and see how this works. So do you think you'll know next year how it's working?
I think we will. Weather was a real impact this year on the marina operations, the high water table, and it was an extremely wet season. And I
may not get much relief from that next year.
No. So I'm hoping that next year it will be a better indicator. And I do think that there's some ways that we can improve on marketing that through the DNR, through social media. And so it will be my goal to increase the marketing for that so that we can improve.
Well, since it's close to 2018 rates, I guess we're not hurting ourselves, so.
Right.
Fine.
I'm with you, Bob, on the paddle pub thing. It's been a history of having something there besides a charter boat. We always had Fred Snyder was down there with his paddle boat, and we started out with in that same spot. Then we had the schooner down there, and now we have the paddle pub, which is, I think, is fitting for that dock area there instead of another charter boat. I myself in favor of keeping that slip open for new entrepreneurs coming in that want to try something, and we have that ability to do that. And that's, I think, through the history of that marina, is what we have been doing in that slip, is actually been giving people opportunities to give tours and do whatever they want with it. So I think it's pretty good. And that last slip there by if you ever noticed that all the concerts that were done, even with the Courtyard concerts, Coast Guard Festival, there's always been a main boat there, and they enjoyed their view 100%. And if we could use that for part of the endowment in that, just like they do for Coast Guard festivals, they rent out the whole thing, and then they get their donors or whatever comes in, and they set up their lottery system, and that's how they end up getting their money a little bit. So I don't think we'll have a problem whatsoever. I like all your recommendations, so I'm excited. But I still think the paddle pub should at least give them a chance to go through it again. I just think that's a great opportunity spot for something like that.
Were there any, regarding the paddle pub, were there any complaints or citations or anything like that?
No, none that I'm aware of. The benefit of the paddle pub is you have 2 licensed charter captains that are extremely regulated. So even though their guests may come on board, and not everyone is bringing alcohol on board. I think that was maybe a misnomer. You had lots of people who came for family gatherings with children, to grandparents, as well as, the bachelorette party. So I never received any complaint, not from the public, not from staff members. I found them to be a very wonderful business to work with, as far as their willingness to comply with our expectations and work with our neighboring, partner in Slip 28 that, wants to get off on the side of the dock where they're running their business from. But they were very easy to work with.
No, that's good to hear. And they helped us out as a city by taking that slip out front when the sailboat schooner Sunset Cruise group pulled out. And we did, with some reservation and some parts, approve it. And it's good to hear that they've been a good partner and 0 complaints. I'm thrilled to hear that. And I think from all the research that's done for the betterment of the economic vitality of the downtown area, the different varieties of attractions and reasons for people to go down there is definitely a key component to approving them to continue versus having just another charter boat. I don't say just another charter boat. Our charter boats are wonderful, but another charter boat.
Mhm.
So I'm in favor of this as well with the paddle pub. As far as the rates go, I think keeping them close to the same year, given the year that we had, I think is a wise move. And as far as the slip, I'll echo what has been said. I think that is a brilliant idea to have that available for concerts. And it's not nearly backstage, it is backstage. And that's a great opportunity for someone who's a big fan of different groups to use that to further the waterfront stadium. So, thank you.
I think too that keeping the rates about the same as last year was a good idea, and I think you did a good job with this, and I'm completely in favor of it.
No, my question is, who's paying what?
I'm sorry, who's paying?
Who's paying more, or they're paying the same? Because to say, well, we want this business instead of that business, I'm not sure that that's a fair way to do it. I don't favor one over the other. I just think, well, what are we gonna get, what's the cost of the slip? And if there's two people vying for it, two people wanna buy a house, someday bid on it. So that would be my way to look at that, rather than favoring, well, we like this one better than this, that's old hat, this is new, so let's do the new. Let's find out what, who's paying what. So that would be my look at that. I like the idea of continuing the rate, the weekday rate versus the weekend rate. I think that's really good. And I don't think, from everything I hear, I don't know if it's going to keep raining, but I understand the water levels are not going anywhere. So one of the things that I think a lot of people are concerned about is those electrical lines in the docks, and as the water keeps rising, how do we make sure that everybody stays safe? So
we keep very close eye on those water lines, along with the Department of Public Works. So the staff that's down there is very well aware of what the requirements are, and we keep DPW apprised of those water levels, because they're right there all the time, every day.
Yeah, no, we were walking along the channel yesterday, and the water was just like boiling over, because it's not going anywhere. So
right,
it's going to be like this probably for at least another 1 year, or if not more. So. But no, everything looks good, I would say, but that would be my thinking on it. So, unless people have comments, I think we're ready to vote. Or were you going to say more?
Oh, I was just going to add to that was, they put, 12 people they put on that paddle pub?
I'm sorry?
They put, 12 people on it, can I think of it right?
16?
16? Okay, and they probably go out maybe, 5, 6 times, sometimes during the day?
I would say probably more like 3 or 4.
3 or 4, okay. Charter boat goes out how many times?
Twice.
How many people on a charter?
About 6, 4?
6?
4 to 6.
I'm just looking at volume of people going across our waterfront and saying not only are they going to be enjoying that, but they'll also be coming down and saying, Chinook Pier, they got some stuff to buy there, or they go downtown. If we get more people in, that's my opinion. So I'm just looking at the volume, trying to see people turn them over and get them to our waterfront, get them to our downtown, getting to the shops. The opportunity's higher.
I would say I guess we're doing follow-up. To Jerry's point, I think it's wise as far as the finances go to make sure we work out a reasonable partnership with them. We've invested in them, and they can invest back in the community, or in their rate maybe going up or something like that. So I think that'd be completely legitimate.
All right.
But it is kind of, without details, it's hard to make a decision, on a spot like that. So that's kind of a tough call.
Our charter boat captains pay the $5,000 for the season, and I'm sorry I don't have that information with me. They did start later in the season. We tried to get them in by 4th of July. That didn't happen. And they paid $3,000 for their season when they got in July, and they'll be there till the end of October like the charter captains. So I would say
about the same.
Yes.
Like I said, I don't want to favor one over another. I would say, bid on it and see see what comes out ahead, but that's my point of view. I'm not gonna vote yes or no on that basis. I'm just giving you my thinking.
Well, that's all we're doing right now. We're only working on rates right now tonight.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're just giving our opinions.
Said what I had to
And
say.
Char's taking notes.
Pardon?
I said what I have to say.
Yeah, well,
I'm done.
there you go.
And Char's taking notes. That's what it's all about.
Ready?
Yep.
Manetza?
Yes.
Ruger?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
McCallum?
Yes. Next item.
Next item is to approve hosting the arrival of Queens Cup 2020 at the Grand Haven Municipal Marina from June 26th through June 27th. Waive the seawall mooring fee of $10 for participants who moor on the seawall, and waive the event fees in the amount of $485. The Harbor Board and the administration recommend approval.
Is there any motion?
So moved?
Second?
All right. So is this
Queens Cup.
back up?
It's back.
All right.
Darcy, Community Affairs Manager, and we have Mark Erickson here also from the Grand River Sailing Club. So, 2020 is the second year in a matter of, I don't know.
3 years.
3 years, that we are looking at having Queens Cup back in the municipal marina. And everything, I think, went exceptionally well the last time we did it.
You did?
We had a great partnership, I think, between our staff and their volunteers to be able to get the charter, to be able to get the boats in and registered, and everyone taken care of. And it worked really well to have the volunteers build some seawall bumpers and help the DPW staff install that, and that was a great success as well. We had a couple of very large boats on the seawall, and they needed that extra protection. So I'll let you put your 2 cents in, and then if anybody has questions, then we can answer those for you.
Sure. It was a great success. It's great to have it back. Because of that turnout and the success of it, they've asked us to host again this year after being down at St. Joe for this summer. So it's an honor for having them to ask us to do it again, and I hope you consider that a great thing for Grand Haven. I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss it.
No, I was down there last time when they were here. It was, really exciting to see, and it's just a fantastic morning. I remember it was beautiful, and to see all the boats. And the one comment that I would make is that for some of the people coming into town, because I just wandering down there, they're asking me, where do I, where can I get something to eat, or what, so if there could be, I don't know what kind of comments, feedback that you got, but some people were just kind of wondering, where to go and how to find where they, what they were looking for. So if there could be a little bit more volunteers or better communication as far as people coming into town, I would say that might help. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We did some advertising and had some bags for the captains, and of course we didn't have enough. That's always a good thing.
Okay.
So this year we're going to double down and try it again.
Everybody was mostly they were looking for a place to eat, and who was open and how far was it? But does the Eagles do did the Eagles or somebody did a breakfast also?
I think they did.
Breakfast buffet and Bloody Mary bar, and they also hosted a beer tent that night.
Oh, okay, all right.
Did. You might want to check with Marcy over at the Travel Bureau there and find out if she has anything you can put in your little pamphlets or bags that you have that would help out with, like Jerry said, she have all the information you need there, so you probably pick that up and pass it out, because it's not only they have time, they got friends here, they might want to drive into other communities also, so the Travel Bureau have everything they want to know, anything in the whole community, so.
Perfect.
That way they might want to spend a little more time instead of just coming here for breakfast, so they come in and then taking off, or maybe stay a little longer and spend some time here and enjoy it, and then they can sail their boat back the next day.
That's what we want.
That's what we want. It's always a fun time. I've had a couple of times when they had it at the bed and breakfast at the end of the street from me there, and that was their offices. And Craig Porter invited me down there one time, and so it was quite an astonishment to meet some of the people from Milwaukee. It was a lot of fun.
Good.
Yeah, I wonder if all the restaurateurs know that there's gonna be a crowd of people coming in real early in the morning. They might wanna be ready for them.
Yes, we contact each one that will have us and ask them, you know, if they want to do anything, what time they're going to be open, let them know that they might have a few extra people and what they thought about that. So
Yeah.
everybody was ready for it, so.
All right, awesome.
Very good. I'm
Oh,
excited.
So Shar, in your memo here, you write, Grand River Sailing Club members will welcome the regatta participants upon arrival to Municipal Marina beginning around 11 p.m. to midnight on Friday the 26th. Seasonal marina staff will be on site to assist with guest check-in, maintenance of restrooms, oversight operations. So you're going to have seasonal marina staff there at 11 in the evening
Yes.
and through the night.
That's what we did last year.
Okay.
It worked out really well.
And then is the cost of that staff paid for by the sailing club or by whom?
It's not paid by the sailing club.
So there'd be a donation by the city?
Well, it would be a normal operation. That person then would just not, we would adjust our schedules.
Okay. Well, I know sometimes when we have events, we have our staff go home too soon and lock up restrooms too soon, and it's all about their regular schedule and the cost of having them stay longer. And at your last community center board meeting, we talked about if event organizers should pay extra if we have staff there extra hours. Then I see this, so I'm wondering, so who's picking up the cost of this? You're saying you'll just absorb that cost into your regular staffing?
In the regular operations, that's how I would handle it.
Okay, so in effect, there'd be no additional cost to the city for working those hours?
Right.
I think this is an exciting event, and I think this is one of those things that's just not, you just don't do every day. So it's good to do things that are different and off your regular schedule and all that. We just have to make sure that when there is something that extra has to be done, we know who's responsible for it, and that will actually get done at those times. So I guess that's my only real question here. Other than that, yeah, it's good to see it back, and I hope it goes well.
So is this, when they do the race, as to where they're gonna end up? Do they like to go to a place year after year? Do they like to switch it around, or do they have like an every other year thing?
That was the big contention for a number of years. They tried it moving up and down Lakeshore from Ludington down to Benton Harbor, and they find that they'd like to come back to a few standard places that are convenient and have the amenities. So Grand Haven is top of the list, frankly.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it just looks spectacular when all the boats are in. It's incredible, so. Cool. All righty, and we're ready to vote? Yep.
Bruger?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes.
McCaleb?
Yes. Next item.
Next item is to approve I don't know if it's Levitt or Leave It, AMP Free Community Concert Series to be held at the Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium from 7 o'clock p.m. to 8:30 p.m. for 10 Fridays in the summer of 2020, from June 19th through September 4th. The Parks Board and the administration recommend approval.
All right, we need a motion.
So moved?
Support.
Been moved and seconded. Oh, gosh, Char's
Say again.
got the whole agenda here.
Boy, Shar, I think it's your show tonight.
Working hard a couple weeks ago. I have Michelle Dixon and I have Michelle Hanks here, excuse me, representing Courtyard Concerts, and they're here to talk a little bit more in depth about this event. The Levitt AMP, is it AMP or AMP? Levitt AMP is a grant opportunity that is trying to get music into local, smaller communities. And it is a matching grant of $25,000, and so there's a plan that these concerts would come into the community at Lynn Sherwood Stadium. They'd be free, open to the public. There would be food for purchase that is cooked off-site and served out of the concessions area. There would be non-alcoholic beverages available, so the park would be completely open. And just a great opportunity, a family-friendly event for the community to participate in. It's a requirement of the grant that there are 10 concerts throughout the season, and I'll let you ladies take it away.
Okay. Do you want to go or do you want me to go? We'll do it in tandem.
Well, this actually came about from an email that Shar had forwarded to me a while back about getting this Levitt amp. As a result of going through the process of looking at what we were able to do here, we did submit our grant. I'll actually let Michelle talk about that process.
So the criteria, the eligibility requirements for the grant, we were pretty much hit the nail on the head with as far as the venue, the area, the population, the demographic. So we submitted it, and it is a matching grant of $25,000. The requirements is that you do have 10 concerts that are on consecutive evenings and times. So we were picking hopefully Friday nights. The times are wrong on there. It would be more like 7 to 9:30, but that's okay. And it does require that we have professional musicians from local, regional, and national levels. And having Michelle's experience in this area, we didn't feel that would, it's not a problem. So we would definitely like to bring this music series to Grand Haven, so it would be Courtyard Concerts Presents Levitt Amp Grand Haven Music Series. There would be promotions on the Levitt Amp website. To be able to win the grant, it does go to a public vote. And Levitt Amp is a nationwide foundation that does donate not only to existing music sites, but they do also have their own sites that they've built throughout the nation. So it would be a great feather in our cap to be able to bring this music series to our area.
We have made, just the process, there's a lot of work that's already gone into this and to trying to figure out how to make it all happen, and we have a lot of excited people. We believe that we have a very strong possibility that we're going to be awarded this grant. 15 different communities will be awarded the grant, but even if we're not, we would like to move forward. So with doing this series through Courtyard Concerts. And that is for us, it's a pretty big endeavor, but it's also really exciting to be able to do this. And we have the capability, now it's just a matter, we really hope, we want this grant, and we hope that when it does come up for voting, that we'll be able to get all of the Grand Haven, as well as other municipalities, I know a few,
Just a few.
that we can get everybody in our community behind this to help vote for this and get that, because that $25,000 would be huge in helping us pay for this series.
Very good. I'm excited.
Yeah, too.
Yeah.
More excited than we probably should be.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, right. We probably don't know what
We're
we got
ready,
ourselves
we're ready.
into, but we are excited. And this is live, multi-genre, musicians that are going to be coming in from all different levels. So we're really excited about that because we'll be able to offer even to outside area listeners that would want to come into our community, hopefully, and, have availability to a free concert and all of our other great amenities. So we're really excited.
Any questions?
So in our memo, it says that if you don't get the grant, you'll move forward with the concept and just change the name of the event.
Correct.
So it will still be a free event even though you're 25 grand short?
Well, what we're doing now is, we have, because Courtyard Concerts now, we have moved in a direction that we never anticipated. So all of the summer sessions, all of the music that we're doing now is going to fall under Courtyard Concerts. And as a result, because some of these things are quite huge, we will start our fundraising and our community involvement pretty much. We have a meeting with the DDA on Wednesday. Once we have that meeting, then we will actually start sending out letters. There's so many moving parts to all of this that we made the decision, we just have to move forward and go out and raise money and get what we need to be able to do this, because we've started a freight train. And it's going to be a lot easier to go out and say, look, we're doing this anyway. And since Courtyard Concerts and anything that we get through the organization benefits the city, benefits Courtyard Concerts, which benefits the Tri-Cities, there's no downside if we end up raising more money than what it takes to do the things that we do, because it all comes back to the community somehow. So our thought is, we just go out and, you know, say, this is what we need to do, and if we get this 25,000, great. Everybody wins. Everybody's already winning from the way that this is put together in bringing music and these community events, and the community support that Courtyard Concerts is already providing. It's a win for everyone.
And if we don't get the grant, we raise $25,000 extra and do it anyway.
So Plan B of not getting the grant is actually kind of your fundamental process anyway. So
Right,
the grant would be gravy on top of that.
Right, and we're not gonna know, what kind of keyed our decision to do this is that we're not gonna know until December 20th whether or not we're gonna get the grant. And we can't wait for the summer sessions to go out to start talking to people and trying to raise the
Right.
funds. And we feel like that when we go out and talk to sponsors, an additional 10 concerts at Lynn Sherwood will
Spark a lot more interest.
Yeah, it's just more places for our sponsors to be seen and known in the community. So we could see no downside to just, you know, jumping off this cliff.
Okay, bring your parachute.
Yeah.
Good luck. I think this sounds great. It really does. My only reservation was the line, if not awarded, we'll do it anyway. I wondered how that was supposed to work, and now I see it.
Mainly, we just have big,
Big good sale.
big dreams, that's what we'll say, we have big dreams.
Have a big good sale.
Free concerts, I can't believe anybody would not want to go to a free concert. I mean, I pay to go to concerts, so it doesn't matter to me, but a lot of people can't afford to go, so introducing anybody and everybody to music, which is healthy for you anyways, it's proven fact that by listening to music makes you a lot more healthier, so especially live music and good musicians, and boy, I tell you what, it sparks their youth, it makes them feel more that they want to do something also, so I'm into music, so I love it, so.
One of the things that we thought was a real bonus to all of this is that, you know, our summer sessions concert series, the ticket prices are going to be $50 and up. That's just the reality of putting on that type of show. So having these free shows allows us to go to the community and say, look, we have a little bit of everything. We're offering something for everyone. And if you can't afford, you know, the summer sessions, we're going to have other these other beautiful opportunities. So we just really felt like that it was a beautiful way to kind of package it all together and say, you know what, regardless of economic ability, we have something for everyone here.
And what a better location.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
It's great for the community.
I
Thank
think
you.
that this sounds like a really great idea and a great use for the stadium. The thing that 8:30, I thought that's plenty of time to get everything cleaned up for the fountain to start at 10 o'clock. That 9:30, is that going to be, because
You know, the shows, I'm going to say the behind the scenes of the summer session shows are 10 times what the behind the scenes are of these.
Okay.
And so we were able to get everything cleaned up for the summer sessions. I mean, we were there till 2 o'clock in the morning, but this is going to be there's no fencing, there's
Right.
you know, it's a significantly less,
It's more like a large picnic.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that made me happy, because I thought, what I thought was, you know, 10 weeks in a row of blue fencing around the stadium, that didn't sound
no,
good. but
even-
I know
even
it's a free concert, so it's not going to
No, we don't want to do that.
And we need to have something, we wanted to have something that we could do as an organization that didn't require, I mean, these big concerts that we do, these are big undertakings. This would be a significantly less on the city, on us. I mean, really, the majority, we're not bringing in a different stage, we're using existing
The stage
staging.
that's there.
It's a completely, there won't be any concession area, where we will use the concession, I don't
In
know
the
what
depot.
in the depot itself. We may have a couple of tents, but they would be just maybe on the.
Yeah, the 10 by 10 pop-up tents that for a table vendor or something like that. So it would be a very simplified situation compared to the summer sessions.
Well, anytime that you got somebody playing music people wandering by are gonna stop and sit down and enjoy it, so. And especially, you know, probably is a great opportunity for exposure for, some, you know, local bands, lesser-known bands that, have their chance to perform in front of a good-sized crowd, so. No, I think it's a lot of fun, sounds like a lot of fun, I just wanna make sure everything works together, and I'm glad there's no fencing.
Yes, so are we.
So are we.
So are we.
Your enthusiasm is contagious. I have no doubt that you'll raise the money even if the grant doesn't come through.
Right. And like I said, there's no downside. I mean, if we go out and raise more money than what we need, it stays inside the organization and it comes back.
Yeah.
So there's no, there's no downside.
When I first read this, I'm looking at the line behind me, the second line, I read it as Leave It Amp Free Community Concert Series. So I thought this was an unplugged set of concerts that was going to happen this summer.
LEVIT.
Yeah, well, yeah. So at any rate, no, I'm great. And just as everyone has echoed here, I want to echo the comments of everyone else about the fence down, the community event, drawing people through, and they walk on and stop in, and I think that's going to be wonderful. So I'm excited voting for it. Good luck to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
We blame it on Shar and that darn email.
And that darn email.
I was actually thinking of the other big concert series you were working on.
Right.
I just want to clarify something about the fence. In the application, you do say that you'd like the city fencing without screening.
Just on the north wall to hang banners.
Yeah.
Where the brick wall,
Where the
cement
concrete wall is, where we put
Yes.
those welded supports up, just so you can hang banners on those?
Yep.
So you don't need the chain link?
Nope.
You just
Nope.
need like maybe 3 or 4 of those uprights so you can put banners up?
Right, we
Yes.
just want to be able to offer that to our sponsors as here, this is another place where we can provide some
Okay.
exposure for our sponsors.
Because the standard is if I can fit them in the back of my car and bring them down, then it's free. If we gotta pay DPW overtime, then we got, so, yeah, we can get those put up pretty easy. Those are a 10-minute deal. Putting up that whole fencing system is a day with a,
All we're
you know,
looking
a
to
whole
do
crew.
is
Just hang some banners.
Okay.
And only there, and only because we know from the summer sessions that there is that, you know, that, I was gonna say that geography, that's not really what I mean,
The
but
cement
that,
wall
that
that's,
cement wall, that one place.
Yeah.
It's good exposure. That's a good idea. It's very unique. Just put some bungees up or something with some banners?
Right.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
Wasn't sure.
I just want to make one more comment. In regards to the bathrooms, that was something that the Parks Department did make mention of, that if we are going to continue to have events in the stadium, the bathrooms need to be opened for those events and manned, and/or we have to have enough portable restrooms to be able to handle the number of guests that we're anticipating. So there is a little chart that has that.
We do have porta johns in our
Planned.
budget now, because there's just, we know that there'll be more.
The bathrooms would not handle that capacity.
So from my perspective, overseeing what's happening down at the marina and then what's happening at the stadium, the bathroom fixtures that we have down in the depot are very, very high end, and they take a beating when we have a lot of large events down there. And trying to maintain them when there are such large crowds is very difficult. Number one, to get in and bring the supplies that are needed just to maintain them. So it's something that we probably need to discuss internally on how we're going to handle that for the next seasonal staff group that comes in.
I think that's a really good idea, because I sure hate to see those really nice restrooms, like I said, take a beating, or it's, to provide porta potties, I think sounds like a good plan for a lot of the big crowds that are down there.
I think we've pretty much worked it out with the different events that have been down there. We've kind of got a good setup for where portable restrooms should be. So I think that we're honing our skills in that area.
And it really works out better for our setup to be able to have the public porta johns be their own place, and it allows us for the security, because we've got money and merchandise in the building. So
Well, and that ends
that's for everybody.
the question about when does city staff have, go home, and who's gonna take care of it after that, so.
I'm working on some new ideas for the next seasonal crew that comes in, and one of those ideas is that we would actually have a person who was on staff as part of our seasonal crew to be on site when we are having such events at the stadium, to oversee the trash and the restrooms. You know, it's a real and a constant thing, and it's not something that the marina staff, that's who's been handling it up to this point. But their priority really is the marina and the marina guests and those bathrooms and mini golf area there. We pulled them in a lot of directions this summer, and I would think that it'd be good for us to look at adding one of those seasonal staff workers as somebody who's just connected to the stadium.
Sure. Okay, sounds good. Anything else? Oh, all right.
Josh.
I was just going to say, it looks like if Mike Smith is listening at home from the Coast Guard Festival, you did leave out the 2 weeks for Coast Guard Festival.
We did.
So, if anybody's worried at home.
We purposely went through and started and ended it, so we were done before the Salmon Festival. Had the 2 weeks, so we could have it, because we have to have 10 days for the grant. And so we purposely planned our summer.
Around the existing festivals, bravo.
Yeah, I think the Parks Board asked the same question.
Yep, there you go.
That was one of the stipulations of the grant application, is that they said consecutive weeks, but they did give exception to annual festivals and events that, I mean, they understand that, you know, schedules are made well in advance.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
I think we're ready to vote.
Scott?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes.
Bruger?
Yes.
McCaleb?
Yes. All right, next item.
Next item is to affirm a draft resolution to be considered by the Board of Light and Power in regard to information sharing with the City Council. The administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a
Support.
second?
Support.
It's been supported, okay. So I understand that. Can you kind of give us a history of this?
Well, this is, you know, just continuing discussion between the boards about the appropriate and preferred methods of communication between the boards. And it's sort of so much else going on with, you know, us and the BLP that this hasn't been something that's unfortunately been at the forefront of either of our agendas. This is a resolution that the BLP may be interested in considering, provided the City Council feels this is appropriate approach to the information sharing discussion. Yeah, so that's, you know, I didn't write this, but you know, I talked with the mayor about it today a little bit, and we talked maybe about maybe the best way to go would be for council members to review this, and if they've got any wordsmithing they would like done, adjustments, to send that to the mayor and let her coordinate that effort, and then we'll get it back to the BLP to let them know, you know, what your feelings are about this particular language that's being presented.
Did the lawyers look at this at all, Pat?
The attorney?
Their attorneys and our attorneys? they
Well,
look at
we have the same attorney. The city attorney has looked at this and, you know, doesn't find any fault with it. You know, doesn't see any problem with proceeding in this direction.
There's things, that, you know, the item 3, that each calendar quarter, the board or its designated, that's BLP board or its designated representative shall provide a brief report and presentation directly to council at a work study session. I think that is an excellent idea. I think that's something that we've been missing, is that communication. So I think that is very good and a step in the right direction. I do have some issues with point number 1, some of the wording in that. I myself would like to change some of the sentences in there. Even eliminate some of them, such as the mayor and city council members are free to attend board meetings. That's like a given, as that their board members are free to come here. Yep, sure enough, they've got an open door. So I think that is kind of a thought that doesn't need to be there. And then that the mayor shall discuss with the general manager, that's kind of, that really should be up to the mayor if he or she wants to. So I think that I would like to see I'd like to myself go over this and change some wording. So I would suggest that we table this, but I'll see what other people have to say.
I guess with that, what the two of you just said, it's like, are we dealing with this tonight? And are we just going to, because if you're looking for recommendations on new words, I hate to do wordsmithing in a meeting.
Right,
think
I
it deserves more
totally
thought.
agree, that's why I would recommend.
Maybe this
tabling.
should have been on a work session or something, but
Yeah.
I would, if there's wordsmithing needs to be done, I would rather postpone it. I guess my initial thought is that, you know, I don't have any issue with any of these ideas or any of these processes that are in here. I'm surprised that we need a formal resolution to do this. This is stuff that I would have thought we could just do. But if we need a formal resolution to do this, then okay, let's get the words right and do it. Because I'm just surprised and a little disappointed that it has to come to something like this for the two boards to communicate. But, I mean, I'm not opposed to doing this either. Let's just get the words right before we actually vote on it.
Okay. Well, let's work on that, and then if anybody.
So, I mean, does anyone want to comment, or should I move to postpone, or? I think everybody has something to say.
Well, I'm just gonna, I don't know if we necessarily need all this, to be honest with you. But if we do, I'd like to postpone it for a little longer myself. I don't think us two boards need to be so formal. It's never been this way before. I don't know why we have to worry about it so much. You know, I really don't. I mean, I've had discussions with a couple board members in the last few months, and it don't seem to be what seems to be put in the paper and what is actually perceived, you know, is two different things in what we are doing. We are actually working together much better, talking things out. So I don't think we necessarily need all of this. I mean, we can show up to a meeting anytime we want. If you got time, show up. They can show up to our meeting anytime. They don't need any kind of formal say you're going to have to do this or need to do that or whatever.
But if they ask to do this, I don't have a problem with putting something together if they ask that they want to do this also. So I just I'm just not a big fan of some of the wording, so
Absolutely. I agree.
And I'll echo the comments. The first time I saw this was on Thursday and Friday, like when I opened up the packet, and had some reservations about it for different reasons, and I'm in favor of postponing it to wordsmith and reflect a little bit more on the big picture of what it means.
Why?
So,
Yeah.
Somebody wants, Bob, you want to make that motion? Denny, did you want anything else?
I agree with you guys. I think we need to postpone this and take a better look at it. I think to approve it right now is kind of putting the cart before the horse here before we really take a formal look at it and let us all read it over and get some comments here, because I mean, like Jerry said too, and I think Bob said that, but anyways, that a formal invitation to go to a board meeting, either theirs or ours, that means nothing really, because it's open to the public and anybody can go to any of those anytime they want to. So that's kind of redundant here. So anyways, I think we need to postpone this and probably look at the wording here and see what we can come up with.
I guess my biggest reservation with what I see here is I think that all members of both boards should have all the same information at the same time. And I would like to see this go in that direction, because sometimes when you have a subset working on something, then others wonder what's up. So when we do that wordsmithing, I'd like to see that addressed. But at this point, I guess I would move to postpone action on this till our next meeting.
I'll second it.
all right. We're voting on the
On the
table.
postponement.
tabling of the- Yes.
Yeah, none of the discussion we had is anything more than just information for us.
Right.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes.
Bruger?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
McCaleb?
Yes. So if you have ideas, you want to send them to me, I will organize them and send them over to Pat for processing. All right, that's the last item. So it's report by city council, and who wants to start?
Well, the catwalk was great. Appreciate all the effort. I mean, that was absolutely perfect celebration, perfect conclusion to an excellent project. Don't see how it could have been staged better or could have had a better result to be celebrating. So lots of work for part of a lot of people. Really paid off. I think the community is pretty excited about it, and well, they should be. Also, last Saturday I went on the Sims Goodbye Tour. It was interesting to see the plant again, to hear the discussion, talk to some of the operators. And it wasn't a real comprehensive tour of the plant, but it was good to get in there and see the place, to remember basically what an enormous machine that plant is, that it's literally is a machine. All the parts have to work and everything has to be taken care of and operated properly and all that, and it's lived its day. So it's time for it to go, and it was a good tour. So, and I had a good hot dog too. That's all I got.
August does an awesome hot dog.
The hot dog really finished it off.
And I will say I'm battling a cold, and my gel cap Advil wore off about an hour and a half ago. So I'm going to keep my comments brief. But so much has happened in the last 2.5, 3 weeks. We were in Detroit for the MML conference, Mike and Bob and Pat, and conference was great. We also had some good camaraderie building with a bowling event that I believe Pat won.
No.
No.
I didn't.
Sure who. Yeah, anyway.
Never beat the bosses.
Yeah. You're a wise man, I suppose. Yeah, but at any rate, bowling aside, we had some great breakout sessions, talked about funding, legislation in Lansing and how it affects municipalities. And so thank you to the city for sending us. And we learned a great deal and bringing it home to apply it. So, and then, as Bob said, with the lighting of the catwalk, that was phenomenal. And what a great community we live in. And it was like a Norman Rockwell painting to see the entire community come out for that. So it's great to see that. So that's all I've got tonight. Thanks.
Awesome.
I just want to say that when Mark brought his presentation up here about the well water, and I think he did a very good job at that, and I think we need to review that again, and I'd be really open to do that. So I don't know if anybody else is here to do that, but I'm in favor of bringing that up again. And I mean, all this already showed us there with all the clean wells. I just don't see closing everybody's wells. I have a big problem with that. But that's all. I wasn't here for the catwalk celebration either. I was I attended from Florida, so I wasn't here that week, so I missed that. But I understand it, and I've seen it on streaming, so it was a great activity, and a lot of people were there, and it seemed like it was pulled off really well.
So you were one of the members I know that was from Florida then, right?
I was in Florida.
No.
I was in Florida.
Oh, it wasn't a vacation, though.
It was not.
No, it was not a vacation.
No.
Is that it?
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, the celebration was definitely by far more than I ever anticipated it to be. It was definitely not only just community, but I think it was state and nationwide. So what a feat that we pulled off and finally got it done. So I think it's kudos to everybody in this community that pitched in and helped out and did everything they could to get it back up there and also participate into that once in a lifetime, so that was pretty good. Yes, we did go to Detroit, and we took up there's some great seminars down there. I went on to, you're talking about EV stations for your community, and I found out that Volkswagen is given 1/3 of the cash for electrical vehicles, the plug-ins, and also, I don't know, BLP, if they're listening out there, it'd be helpful, but I know consumers in GTE are offering up to, one of them is offering $2,500 for a level 2, which would be a pretty good size station for anybody. And if you want to go up to the major station, plug-in station, they're offering up to $75,000, which is a big one. But it's a thing, and it's coming in more and more so often, is that they notice, I looked at demographics they had on electric vehicles. Grand Rapids had probably about 1,000 of them, and in Ottawa County has almost close to 600, 500 to 600, and it's growing very enormously. Electric vehicles are. So that was one thing I learned. Also, human trafficking is another thing I went to. I learned quite a bit about it. That's not just human sex trafficking, but it's also for labor and stuff like that. You see for farming and whatever else, and how they get people here and they take their visas and they overrun their visas so they don't end up having a visa no more, and they hang it over their head and make them work. It was pretty interesting to see what kind of like massage parlors and stuff and what kind of hotels to look for. It was very educational to take a look and see at how it really happens and where it does happen. If you don't think it happens in your neighborhood, trust me, it's here, you like it or not. So that was very educational. And also I went down there and we went to basically the ad for small homes, tiny houses and that. And the seminar we went on that was very, very interesting because, you're looking at tiny homes, and I'm looking at these front pages of these people's houses that they're building down there, and they look like some huge mansion. It's got pillars, it's got fancy glass and everything, but it's only, 300, 600 square feet, maybe?
350.
Yeah, 350 square feet. It's got solar power and the thing I learned is put on by this minister down there, which she's running and pretty much doing all this, is that she was telling us that most of the people down there, the average wage is only $7,000 to $15,000 a year. And you're always thinking about auto workers and making these big dollars and everything else, but that's not necessarily true down there. There's a lot of people down there that don't make that kind of money. And they have no place to live, and they're living on the streets, and they're barely making it. By giving them an opportunity to go into a small home, gives them an opportunity to have something and grow. So it's something we could probably look at also here. We have homeless in this town. I was just approached by a gal today, told me that she knew somebody was living in one of the lockers. And I said, yes, I know, and there's other people that are living in woods, and we still have that here, even in small town Grand Haven. But I'm sure it'd be helpful if we could figure out, so we can have people have places to stay and work on that. And I know our planning commission and everything is working on it for housing that is affordable, and it's something we need to look at on different avenues on that. So it was a very good time down there. I learned a lot, and I just want to pass that on to everybody, that it wasn't just a junket for us to go down there and have fun. You're up early, you're going to seminars, you don't get done till late at night, and then that's when if you got time afterwards, fine. But you're pretty tired sometimes when you get done from sitting there and listening and trying to absorb everything that they're teaching you. We had some great speakers that come from out of this country and tell us how they do their housing and stuff, which was really, really good. So it was a well-learning experience, and I appreciate it every time I go down there. And also, I just found out that, everybody thinks about Detroit thinking how dirty and how bad it is, but I tell you, we were down there and we got done. It was like 8:30 at night, and we're still walking around 10:30 at night. I can walk at 10:30 at night downtown Detroit, and I felt pretty safe down there. It was not anything near what you think it is. It has actually been a remarkable turnaround, and that's just a testimony of our state and how we do things. So, and it's the same thing we do in Grand Haven. We try and make it the best place to be, and that's what we do. So that's all I have to say.
All right, then. Okay, it's up to me.
What we did.
All right. Yes, what more can be said about the catwalk? I just want to thank the citizen who paid for the fireworks, because that was a great end to a great celebration. It was a good show, and the whole thing was just, I wandered around for an hour beforehand with a bag of buttons that Pat gave me, and because we still have buttons, Save the Catwalk buttons, and if I would have taken, everybody was offering me money for them. I said, no, this is our gift to you. But there were people sitting on the dune there overlooking the pier from St. Louis, from Indiana, from not just local folks, but people came from a long ways away for this once-in-a-lifetime experience, and there was so much enthusiasm, and it was just great to walk around that crowd, and and just see community. It was incredible. So great night, and a second thank you for the fireworks. That was just a great way to end it. Sims Tour, saying a little bit early goodbye to the Sims plant. It's on National Power Week Day or something. I forget the exact designation why it was done that day. Besides, when they close the plant down, it's going to be like hurry up and start taking it down. So they thought this was the best opportunity with this particular day to do it. It doesn't mean it's coming down tomorrow. In fact, they're going to try to run it all winter long, because they got several $1 million worth of coal they still have to burn up in a big pile. So it's good news for us. It's good news for Snowmelt that Sims is going to run, and we just need to say a prayer for it, that it keeps on percolating until all that coal is gone. So good on that. It was a good crowd, a lot of people using transit, and it's just a lot of fun to take advantage of. It's talk about part of our history. We have produced our own power in the city of Grand Haven for over 100 years, and so we're proud of the very early efforts when we lit our street lights, and then going to Sims 1, 2, and 3 at the diesel plant, and what is to come. So it's probably going to be natural gas, I'm guessing, and whatever the boilers that we're going to have to use for Snowmelt. It's a lot still to be done, but it's promised to happen, and we're excited to see what comes next. And on this water issue that Mark brought forward, if he tested, they say 6 wells, and they all came back, not just because if you all remember that discussion, there's drinking water quality, and then there's sprinkling level qualities or contact level qualities. All the wells that were tested were drinking water quality. So it seems like a tremendous shame for me to make someone destroy their well when it's a shallow well and the water is drinking water quality. You can drink that water. It tests either 0 for vinyl chloride or below the concern levels. So I'm with Denny. I would be more than happy to revisit that, because it seems like shame. I say, wait, when we just added 86 cents per 1,000 gallons for water that we're pumping out of the ground, that's a real hardship for some of these folks with wells that they want. If you want to have green grass, fill your kiddie pool. It just seems a shame to me when the water comes back that high a quality. So I would be happy to sponsor something like that and have us talk about that again. So that's it for me. So report by city manager.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're going to just quick play a video from the catwalk that a woman named Heather with Empower produced for us, so we thought you might want to see this. It's very quick. I think that captured a little bit of the essence of what we all experienced that night. She did a really magnificent job, so we thought we'd give her that plug, and that's all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Oh, that's it? I gotta talk about the.
Yeah, the Pier Peddler is going to be postponed.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The owner asked for a little more time before we present that to City Council.
Oh, okay, all right.
Sorry.
So that general business call of the audience, anybody wants to make a comment? If not, we will adjourn. So we'll see you all next time.
And for a second there, I thought maybe Pat was gonna put that damage on.